News traveled fast in the academy. By the time lunch period arrived, every student knew about what happened in Velmora's first class. A Vraxi had sat next to a human, two apex predators sitting together. Some students whispered it was dangerous. Others said it was fascinating. Everyone had an opinion. The cafeteria was massive, designed to feed thousands of students from hundreds of different species. Different sections served different types of food. One area had plants and fruits for herbivores. Another section served various meats for carnivores. A third area had the synthesized foods that many species preferred. The room hummed with conversation and the sounds of eating. Hyejin sat with her friends at a corner table far from the entrance. She was a Quillen girl with pale blue feathers and nervous eyes. She had been in Velmora's classroom that morning. She had seen the whole thing happen. Her heart had nearly stopped when Taemin walked past his assigned seat. She thought for sure someone was going to die. "It goes against nature," whispered Mira. She was Centauri, with soft brown fur and small curved horns. Her people had been prey animals for millions of years. Fear was built into their bones. Two apex predators forming a group. Do you understand what they could do if they worked together? They could hunt anything, another student added nervously. Prey species would have no chance. Hyejin listened but said nothing. She was thinking about what she had actually seen in class. After Taemin sat down, Ji-won had pulled out her notes. Her datapad had stopped working halfway through the lesson. Ji-won had frowned at the dead screen, tapping it a few times. Without being asked, Taemin had slid his datapad between them so she could see. They had shared notes for the rest of the class. Ji-won's handwriting was neat and careful when she wrote things down on paper. Taemin had trouble with the stylus because of his claws, but he managed. At one point, Teacher Velmora had stumbled over a difficult word in the ancient texts. Both Ji-won and Taemin had looked at each other and smiled. Just a small moment. Just a shared amusement at the teacher's mistake. They had not been hunting. They had not been planning attacks. They had just been students trying to learn. They seemed normal, Hyejin said quietly. Her friends looked at her like she had said something crazy. Normal? Hyejin, they are predators, the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Across the cafeteria, Ji-won poked at her lunch without enthusiasm. The academy tried to provide food for all species, but human food was still new to them. The protein was synthesized, grown in vats to match Earth nutrition. It tasted wrong. Not bad exactly, just not quite right. She missed real food from home. Taemin ate from a large plate of raw meat. His species needed fresh meat, though this was also synthesized for safety and ethics. He ate with quick, efficient bites. Ji-won noticed he kept his eating controlled and neat. It was nothing like the messy, aggressive feeding she had seen in nature documentaries about Earth's big cats. Everyone is still staring, Ji-won muttered. She could feel hundreds of eyes on them. Let them stare, Taemin replied. His voice was low and rumbling. This is the first time I have sat in a room where someone did not smell like fear when I walked by. Ji-won glanced at him curiously. You could smell their fear? Cannot help it. My nose is much better than yours, human. His whiskers twitched slightly. It might have been amusement. You did not smell afraid. Just annoyed. I was annoyed, Ji-won admitted. Everyone treats me like I am going to suddenly attack someone. Do you know I am vegetarian? I don't even eat meat. Taemin made a coughing bark sound. It took Ji-won a moment to realize he was laughing. The sound made half the cafeteria flinch. Students at nearby tables leaned away. A vegetarian human? Your people conquered your planet by being persistence hunters. You are famous for chasing prey until it dies from exhaustion. And you choose to eat plants? It's my choice, Ji-won said firmly. What about you? Are the stories true? The ones about Vraxi being unstoppable killing machines? Taemin's amusement faded. His tail stopped swishing. My people are hunters, yes. It is what we are.
We cannot survive without meat.
But we are also much more than that. He paused, staring at his claws. We are poets. We build beautiful cities. We love our cubs more than life itself. We create art and music that makes people cry, but everyone here only sees these. He extended his claws slightly. Ji-won understood completely. She knew exactly what he meant. Everyone saw the classification. Everyone saw the danger. Nobody bothered to look deeper. She looked down at her tray. The protein bar was odd texture. She was not going to eat it anyway. Do you want my protein bar? I don't like the texture. Taemin looked at the offered food. Then he looked at Ji-won. Something shifted in his expression. You would share your food with me? You shared your notes with me, Jiwon said with a shrug. It was simple, just a small gesture, one student sharing food with another. But around them, prey species watched with wide eyes. They saw a human give food to a Vraxi. They saw the Vraxi accept it with careful claws. They saw two predators sitting together peacefully, sharing a meal. Some students saw only danger, but others, like Hijin watching from across the room, saw something different. They saw two people who were tired of being judged. Two people who had found someone who understood. The next day in class, Taemin and Jiwon sat in the same seats. They arrived early this time. Jiwon had fixed her datapad, but they still sat close together. Other students filed in slowly, watching them nervously. Velmora began her lesson on the first contact between species. She talked about how different civilizations had met thousands of years ago. How there had been fear at first. How slowly, carefully they had learned to trust each other. Understanding comes from time spent together, Velmora explained. The first prey species and predator species to make peace did so, because individuals chose to look past their instincts. They chose to see each other as people first. Jiwon wrote this down. She thought it was important. During a break in the lesson, Taemin struggled with a math problem on his datapad. Jiwon leaned over to look. Oh, I see your mistake. You converted to base 10, but the formula needs base 8. Base 8? Taemin's ears flicked in confusion. A voice came from behind them. I can help with that. They both turned. A large human boy sat in the row behind them. He was built like a wrestler, with broad shoulders and strong arms. His name was Daehyun. He had been quietly sitting there since the start of the semester. Your people use base 8 mathematics? Taemin asked. Daehyun grinned. My planet does. Well, the culture I am from makes orbital calculations easier when you have 8 fingers instead of 10. He reached forward and sketched out the solution on Taemin's datapad. His strokes were confident and clear. Oh, Taemin said. I understand now. Thank you. No problem, Daehyun said. Then he went back to his own work. It was another small moment. Another simple interaction. But it meant something. It meant there were more people willing to look past the fear. That afternoon in the library, Jiwon and Taemin found a table to study. The library was a beautiful space with high ceilings and large windows. Books and datapads lined the walls. Students from all species came here to work. They settled at a table in a quiet corner. Jiwon spread out her notes. Taemin pulled up reference materials on his datapad. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Then a shadow fell across their table. Jiwon looked up to see another Vraxi standing there. This one was smaller than Taemin, with gray-spotted fur instead of stripes. He looked young and nervous. Can we help you? Taemin asked in their own language. The younger Vraxi answered in the same language. Jiwon could not understand the words, but she heard the tone. Uncertain, hopeful, maybe a little desperate. Taemin listened, then nodded. He switched back to common so Jiwon could understand. This is Minho. He is asking if he can study with us. Of course, Jiwon said immediately. Pull up a chair. Minho's relief was visible. His tail, which had been tucked close to his body, relaxed slightly. He got a chair and sat down carefully. Later, Jiwon would learn that Minho was from a clan that had lost a territorial war back on the Vraxi homeworld. Other Vraxi students shunned him because of his clan's shame. He had been alone since arriving at the academy. Until now. As the three of them studied together, other students in the library watched. Some were horrified. 3 predators working together seemed like a nightmare, but others were curious. They saw the predators helping each other with homework. They saw Jiwon explaining history to Minho. They saw Taemin carefully turning pages with his claws. They saw students. Just students, trying to pass their classes, trying to make friends, trying to find their place in a galaxy that feared them. And slowly, very slowly, some of that fear began to change into something else. Not trust, not yet, but maybe curiosity. Maybe the first tiny seeds of understanding. By the end of the first week, patterns had formed. Jiwon and Taemin always sat together in class. They arrived early to claim their seats. They shared notes when needed. During breaks, they talked quietly about the lessons or about their different homeworlds. In the library, they studied together with Minho. It became normal to see them as a group. Daehyun, the human boy from engineering track, started sitting in the row behind them permanently. He had a loud laugh that made smaller species nervous. But he was brilliant with machines and mathematics. When Taemin struggled with physics, Daehyun just leaned forward and helped. When Jiwon's datapad broke again, Daehyun fixed it in 5 minutes. They became a group of 4. 2 humans and 2 Vraxi, 4 predators. Teachers watched them nervously, but none of them caused any problems. They just studied and talked and helped each other with schoolwork. Other changes happened too. Small ones at first. A Vraxi female named Yuna started eating lunch at a table near theirs. She never spoke to them, but she was always there, watching, listening. After 3 days, Taemin invited her to sit with them. She accepted immediately. Yuna brought her sister Nari the next day. Both of them were grateful to sit with other Vraxi who did not judge them. On the Vraxi homeworld, females were rare and valuable. Here at the academy, other Vraxi males had been bothering them constantly. Sitting with Taemin's group meant safety. "Anyone bothers you, tell me," Taemin said simply. His tail lashed once. The sisters understood. Taemin would protect them. That was what pack leaders did. Jiwon watched this with interest. Vraxi's social structure seemed complicated with its clans and territories and honor codes. But the basics were simple. Take care of your pack. Protect those weaker than you. Honor your word. Humans had similar ideas. Protect your family. Help your friends. Keep your promises. Maybe the 2 species were not so different after all. The real surprise came on a Tuesday afternoon. Jiwon sat in the library with her growing group. They had pushed 2 tables together to fit everyone. Taemin worked on an essay. Daehyun was repairing someone's broken datapad. The Vraxi sisters shared notes on biology. Minyo practiced his common by reading out loud quietly. The sound of papers scattering made everyone look up. A small Quillen girl had dropped her bag near their table. Papers and datapads spilled everywhere. The girl froze, suddenly surrounded by predators. It was Hyejin, the blue-feathered Quillen from their history class. Her eyes were wide. Her feathers fluffed up in fear. Every instinct in her body screamed danger. Jiwon moved slowly and carefully. She bent down and started picking up the scattered papers. "Galactic history notes? These are from Velmora's class, right?" Hyejin could not speak. She just nodded, her whole body trembling. Jiwon gathered the papers and held them out. "Her essay questions are really hard. We are forming a study group for the midterm exam. Do you want to join us?" The library went very quiet. Other students stopped what they were doing to watch. A human was inviting a prey species into a predator study group. This was unprecedented. Taemin's ear flicked. He looked at Jiwon with surprise, but he said nothing. He understood what she was doing. Hyejin stared at the papers being offered to her, at the human girl who had spoken kindly, at the Vraxi who sat very still, not moving, not threatening, at the group that was waiting patiently for her answer. Yes, Hyejin whispered. "I would like that." She took her papers back with shaking hands. Jiwon smiled at her, then pulled over an empty chair. "Great. We meet here every Tuesday and Thursday evening. Bring whatever questions you have." Hyejin sat down very carefully. She was still scared. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. But nobody attacked her. Nobody even looked at her like prey. They just went back to their studying. After a few minutes, Jiwon noticed Hyejin staring at a problem in her notebook. "Need help with that?" "I do not understand the Centauri migration patterns," Hyejin admitted quietly. "Oh, that confused me too at first," Jiwon said. She pulled over a piece of paper and started drawing a simple map. "See, they did not migrate for food like most species. They migrated for mineral deposits. Their biology needs specific minerals that are only found in certain areas." Hyejin leaned closer to see the map. Slowly her feathers began to smooth down. She was still nervous, but she was also learning. And nothing bad was happening. The study group grew after that. Word spread that there was a group that welcomed anyone who needed help. Species did not matter. Prey or predator, everyone was welcome. Soyeon joined next. She was a quiet human girl studying xenobiology. She loved learning about different species but was shy around others. In the study group, she found people who shared her interests. Junho came next. He was a massive human male, tall and muscular. His size made prey species extremely nervous. But he spoke with a gentle voice and had endless patience for explaining difficult concepts. He was studying to be a teacher. "Why are you helping me?" A Centauri boy named Kels asked Junho one evening. Junho had just explained gravitational physics to him for the 3rd time. Junho looked surprised by the question. Because you are struggling with the concept and I understand it. Why would I not help? Because I am prey, Kel said bluntly. My species has been running from predators for 50,000 years. You could kill me easily. Junho's expression became serious. But I will not. And neither will anyone else here. We are just students trying to pass our exams, Kel, same as you. Kel stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. He had heard humans were dangerous. He had heard they were relentless hunters. But this human just wanted to help him understand physics. Maybe the rumors were wrong, or maybe there was more to predators than just hunting. The study group met 3 times a week now. The library staff had to give them a larger room. 12 students met regularly. 3 humans, 4 Vraxi, 2 Quillen, 2 Centauri, and 1 Delphian who breathed methane and had to wear a special suit. They helped each other with homework. They explained concepts that confused others. They shared food sometimes, each species bringing something from their own culture. The humans brought protein bars and fruit. The Vraxi brought dried meat that smelled strong. The Quillen brought sweet grain cakes. The Centauri brought vegetable dishes with complex spices. Sharing food was important. In most cultures, eating together meant trust. It meant peace. When a Vraxi ate beside a Quillen and neither felt threatened, it meant something. It meant old instincts could be overcome. Hyejin surprised everyone by becoming one of the best students in the group. She had a gift for understanding patterns and explaining them simply. She helped Minho with literary analysis, breaking down complex texts into simple pieces. She helped Soyeon memorize biological classifications. She even helped Taemin with an essay about ancient wars, pointing out perspectives he had not considered. You are good at this, Taemin told her one evening. Teaching, I mean. Hyejin's feathers ruffled with pleasure. Thank you. I want to be a professor someday. Teach about galactic history and how different species learn to work together. You will be excellent at it, Jiwon said. And she meant it. Hyejin had overcome her fear. She sat comfortably now in a group of predators, seeing them as friends instead of threats. If she could do that, she could teach others to do the same. The study group's success showed in their test scores. When the first major exam results came back, Velmora's class had the highest average in the entire academy. Every student in the study group scored in the top 20%, Administrator Crix noticed. He was a high-ranking Centauri official who oversaw integration protocols. He looked at the scores and frowned. He looked at the student names and frowned deeper. Predators and prey studying together, achieving excellence together. This was not supposed to happen. He called Teacher Velmora to his office. This is concerning, he said, pointing at the scores. Your class has predators forming cooperative groups with prey species. My class has students forming study groups, Velmora corrected gently. And they are excelling. For now, Crix said. His hooves clattered nervously on the floor. But what happens when instincts take over? When the Vraxi cubs reach full maturity? When the humans face a stressful situation? These are predatory species. They cannot be trusted around prey. Velmora ruffled her feathers in frustration. Have you considered that perhaps our assumptions are wrong? These students have proven they can work together peacefully. Assumptions based on millions of years of evolution. Crix countered. Prey runs from predators. Predators hunt prey. This is nature. You cannot change nature. Perhaps, Velmora said quietly, or perhaps intelligent beings can choose to be more than their nature. Crix did not like this answer.
He began drafting new regulations.
Predator species would be separated from prey species. Study groups would be species segregated, no exceptions. For safety, he told himself. For the protection of prey species, the announcement went out that evening. All students received the new regulations on their data pads. Effective immediately, predator and prey species would be physically separated in classrooms. Study groups could only include members of similar species classifications. In the library, the study group read the announcement in shocked silence. Jiwon's hands shook with anger. They are treating us like animals. The new regulations went into effect the next morning. Workers came early to install barrier screens in the classrooms. The screens were clear but strong, designed to separate predator species from prey species. Desks were rearranged. Seating charts were redrawn. Everything was done according to Administrator Crix's new safety protocols. Jiwon stood in the hallway staring at a notice board that explained the new rules. Her hands were clenched into fists. Behind her, Taman read the same notice, his tail lashing in agitation. They are treating us like we are dangerous, Jiwan said quietly. We are dangerous, Taman replied. That is the truth. I could kill most beings in this building. So could you, human. Your people are persistence hunters. You can run down prey until it collapses from exhaustion. On your world, that made you survivors. Here it makes you threats. But we choose not to, Jiwan said fiercely. We choose to be friends. To help each other. Does that not matter? Apparently not to Administrator Crix. Taman's ears flattened against his head. A sign of anger among his people. Other students crowded the hallways, reading the new rules. Prey species looked relieved. Many of them had been frightened by the predator-prey study groups. Now they would be safe again, separated by barriers. Predator species looked angry or resigned. This was not new to them. They had always been treated differently. The first class under the new rules was difficult. Velmora tried to teach with the barrier screen dividing her classroom in half. Predator species sat on one side. Prey species sat on the other. The screen blocked nothing except proximity. Everyone could still see and hear each other, but the message was clear. Predators and prey did not mix. Jiwan sat on the predator side with Taman, Daehyun, and the other predator species students. Across the barrier, she could see Hyejin sitting with the other Quillen students. Kel sat with his Centauri peers. The study group was broken apart by a clear wall. Hyejin looked miserable. She kept glancing at the barrier, at her friends on the other side. She had worked hard to overcome her fear. She had learned to see predators as people. Now the academy was telling her that her fear had been correct all along, that she should stay separated for her own safety. Class ended. Students filed out in two different directions. Predator species through one door, prey species through another. The hallways had new markings on the floor, different colors for different groups, like traffic lanes keeping everyone separate. At lunch, the cafeteria had been reorganized. Predator species ate on one side, far from the prey species on the other side. Guards stood by the dividing line to make sure no one crossed over. The study group, which used to eat together every day, was scattered across the room. Hyejin sat with her Quillen friends, but she did not eat. Mira tried to talk to her, but Hyejin just stared at the barrier separating her from the others. You are safe now, Mira said, trying to be comforting. The predators cannot reach you. They never tried to reach me, Hyejin said quietly. They were my friends. They were tolerating you, another Quillen said. Predators and prey cannot truly be friends. It goes against nature. Hyejin wanted to argue, but she did not know what to say. How could she explain what she had experienced? How could she make them understand that Taman had been gentle with her? That Jiwan had helped her study without asking for anything in return? That Daehyun had made her laugh with his terrible jokes? After lunch, Hyejin made a decision. She went to Administrator Crix's office. The building was large and official, filled with busy administrators managing the academy. She was just a small Quillen student. She was nobody important, but she was angry, and anger gave her courage. She waited in line with other students who had questions or complaints. When her turn came, she walked into Crix's office with her feathers smooth and flat, determined. Crix looked up from his desk. He seemed surprised to see a prey species student. How can I help you, young one? I want to talk about the new regulations, Hyejin said. Her voice shook, but she kept talking. The ones separating predator and prey species. Crix's expression became kind but firm. The look of an adult talking to a child who does not understand. Those regulations are for your safety. I understand you might not see the danger, but we must protect students like you. I am prey, Hyejin stated clearly. By every biological definition, I should fear the predators in our school. My instincts tell me to run from them. My evolution has prepared me to see them as threats. Exactly, Crix said, nodding. You understand. But I have spent more time with Jiwan and Taman than with my own species these past weeks, Hyejin continued. They have helped me study. They made sure I got home safely during the power outage last week. They have respected my boundaries and my fears. They have been my friends. Crix stamped a hoof in frustration. Your fear is a survival instinct. It exists to keep you alive. You should not ignore it. My fear was ignorance, Hyejin said, her voice growing stronger. I do not fear them anymore because I know them now. They are people, Administrator Crix, not just predators. They are people who make jokes and struggle with homework and worry about exams. Just like me. That does not change what they are capable of, Crix argued. A Vraxi could kill you in seconds. A human could hunt you down no matter how far you ran. These are facts. And I could peck out their eyes with my beak, Yijin replied. My people have poisoned claws. Did you know that? Small doses but deadly if we choose. A centauri can kick hard enough to break bones. Every species has the capability for violence, but we choose not to use it. Why do you only see the violence in predators? Crix had no answer for that. He stared at the small Quillen girl who stood in his office arguing with him. He had created these regulations to protect prey species, but here was a prey species student telling him she did not want protection. She wanted her friends back. I will consider your concerns, Crix said finally. It was a dismissal. Hyejin left his office knowing she had not changed his mind. But at least she had tried. At least she had spoken up. The confrontation did not stay private. Another student had recorded Hyejin's words in the waiting area. The video spread through the student network within hours. Students watched a small, frightened prey species standing up to an administrator to defend her predator friends. Other prey species students began speaking up. Mira, Hyejin's Centauri friend, admitted publicly that she had been wrong to judge predators so harshly. Kels wrote an article for the Academy publication about how Junho had helped him through a panic attack, staying with him for hours, never making him feel weak or judged. The pushback against the regulations grew. But Crix refused to change his position. Safety was more important than feelings, he insisted. The regulations would stay. Then came the day of the combat training exercise. Advanced combat training was a required course for all students preparing for space service. Everyone needed to know emergency procedures. How to evacuate, how to rescue others, how to survive dangerous situations. The training simulations were usually safe, carefully controlled by instructors. Usually, the class was running an emergency evacuation drill in the training bay. The simulation created a fake fire. Students had to find the exits through smoke and navigate around obstacles. It was meant to be challenging but not dangerous. Then something went wrong. An electrical system overloaded. The fake fire became a real fire. Smoke filled the training bay for real. Emergency barriers locked into place, trapping students in different sections. What should have been a simple drill turned into an actual emergency. Chaos erupted. Students panicked. Teachers tried to restore control while calling for help. In one section, 3 Quillen students found themselves trapped. The smoke was thick and toxic. The temperature was rising. They could not find the exit. Their panic made them scatter in different directions, going deeper into danger instead of toward safety. Jiwan and Taemin were in an adjacent section, separated by an emergency barrier. Through the smoke they heard screaming, high-pitched, terrified screaming from the Quillen students. The emergency override is on their side, Jiwan said, coughing from smoke. Her eyes were watering, but she could still function. Humans had evolved to handle smoke from fires. It was dangerous but not immediately lethal to her. The door is too heavy for them to force, Taemin observed. His eyes could see through the smoke better than most. But not too heavy for us, they looked at each other. They both knew what they had to do. The barrier between them and the trapped students was a safety feature, locked to prevent this exact kind of situation. But those safety features were also trapping prey species with no way out. Jiwan found the barrier control panel. Her hands were shaking, but she worked quickly, bypassing the safety locks. Taemin used his strength to force the barrier open when the locks released. The metal groaned but gave way. They pushed through into the smoke-filled section where the Quillen students were trapped. The visibility was terrible now. The heat was intense. Jiwan's human endurance kept her moving when others would have collapsed. Taemin's superior senses helped him navigate through conditions that would blind most species. They found the 3 Quillen students huddled against a wall, disoriented and terrified. When the students saw the predators emerging through the smoke, they screamed louder. Their instincts told them they were being. The medical center was busy for hours after the training accident. Students with smoke inhalation received treatment. Burns were treated and bandaged. The 3 Quillen students who had been trapped were given oxygen and kept for observation. They would recover fully, the doctors said. Thanks to the quick rescue, no one had serious injuries. Taemin sat still while a medical drone treated the burns on his back. The synthetic fur would grow back in time. The burns were painful but not dangerous. He had survived much worse on his homeworld. Vraxi cubs learned early that life was hard and pain was temporary. Ji-won sat nearby, her lungs slowly clearing from the smoke. Humans recovered quickly from many things. It was part of what made them dangerous on their death world. But it also made them resilient. Administrator Crix came to the medical center. He stood for a long time watching the rescued students receive care. He watched the predators who had saved them. His expression was troubled. One of the Quillen students, a young female named Hana, kept looking at Taemin. She had been one of the trapped students. She had seen the Vraxi emerge through the smoke and thought she was going to die. Predators coming through the darkness. Every instinct had screamed danger, but Taemin had not attacked. He had protected them. She remembered his voice cutting through her panic. She remembered how he had positioned his body between them and the falling debris. She remembered the smell of his fur burning as he held the beam so they could escape. Slowly, carefully, Hana walked over to where Taemin sat. The medical drone had finished its work and moved away. Taemin's ears swiveled toward her as she approached, but he did not move. He sat very still, understanding that she was still frightened. "Thank you," Hana said quietly. Her voice shook. "You saved my life." Taemin's whiskers twitched. "You are welcome. I am glad you are safe." "I was afraid of you," Hana admitted. "Before today. I thought all predators just wanted to hunt us." "Many prey species think this," Taemin said without anger. "It is not wrong to be afraid. Fear keeps you alive, but fear should not stop you from seeing the truth." "What is the truth?" Hana asked. Taemin thought for a moment. "The truth is that we are all many things. I am Vraxi, yes. I am a predator, yes. But I am also a student, a friend, someone who keeps his promises, someone who protects those who need protection. You are Quillen. You are prey. But you are also brave and smart and kind. We are not just one thing." Hana looked at him with new eyes. She saw the burns on his back. She saw the careful way he held himself, trying not to seem threatening. She saw a person who had risked himself for strangers. "Can we be friends?" she asked. "Even though you are predator and I am prey?" "I would like that," Taemin said. His tail curled in a gesture that meant contentment among his people. Across the medical center, Administrator Crix watched this interaction. He had spent his whole career protecting prey species from predators. He had created regulations and safety protocols. He had done everything by the rules. The old rules. The rules that said predators and prey could never truly coexist peacefully. But here was a Quillen student asking a Vraxi to be friends. Here was living proof that the old rules might be wrong. The next morning, Crix called an emergency meeting with the Academy board. Teacher Velmora attended. So did several other teachers who had been watching the predator-prey study groups with interest. Crix presented all his data. The test scores, the incident reports, the rescue from the training bay, everything. "I have been wrong," Crix said. The words were difficult for him. He was a proud being who did not like admitting mistakes. "I created regulations based on fear and old assumptions. I did not consider that intelligent beings might choose to be more than their instincts." The board listened as Crix explained his new perspective. The regulations separating predator and prey species were removed. The barriers were taken down. Study groups could form freely again without restriction. New guidelines were created, but these focused on understanding and respect rather than separation. It was not an immediate change. Many prey species were still frightened. Many predators were still angry about how they had been treated. But slowly, carefully, things began to improve. The study group came back together. They met in their usual spot in the library. Ji-won and Taemin sat side by side as they always had. Hee-jin joined them without fear. Daehyun brought new students who wanted to join. The group grew larger. Other study groups formed, copying their example. Mixed species groups became common. Teachers adjusted their methods to work with these new dynamics. The academy began to look different. Instead of separated groups avoiding each other, there were mixed groups of students working together. Not everyone was happy about the changes. Some prey species refused to interact with predators. Some predators preferred to stay with their own kind. That was their choice, and it was respected. But for those willing to try, the opportunities were there. Ji-won graduated from the academy 3 years later with honors. She studied diplomacy and cross-species relations. Her thesis was about how predator and prey species could work together despite evolutionary instincts. It was published widely and became required reading for many students. Taman graduated the same year, also with honors. He studied history and culture. His specialty was understanding how different species overcame their differences. He wanted to help his own people, the Vraxi, integrate better with the wider galaxy. They stayed friends. Even after graduation, they stayed in contact. Jiwan went to work for the Human Diplomatic Corps. Taman became a cultural liaison for the Vraxi government. Their paths crossed often in their work. 20 years after that first day when a Vraxi cub sat beside a human girl, Ambassador Jiwan stood on the Vraxi homeworld. She was there to sign a major trade agreement between Earth and Vraxi. It was historic. Two predator species forming a strong alliance. Cultural liaison. Taman stood beside her as they signed the documents. They were adults now, fully grown and experienced in their fields, but they remembered being students. They remembered being judged by their biology. They remembered choosing friendship over fear. "Do you ever think about that first day?" Jiwan asked quietly as they posed for official photographs. "When I sat beside the angry human girl." Taman's whiskers twitched with amusement. "I think about it often." "I was not angry," Jiwan said, laughing. "Just tired of being feared. So you understand why I chose that seat," Taman said. Jiwan nodded. She understood completely. In that moment, Taman had seen her as a person first. Not a predator. Not a threat. Not a classification. Just another student who was tired of being judged. By choosing to sit beside her, by ignoring all the protocols and expectations, Taman had shown that things could be different. That simple choice had changed everything. It had led to the study group, to friendships between species, to new understanding, to policy changes, and eventually to diplomatic relationships between entire worlds. "We changed the galaxy," Taman said, looking at the assembled officials from a dozen species, predators and prey working together, something that had once seemed impossible. "We just wanted to pass our history class," Jiwan replied with a smile. "We did that too." With excellent grades, they both laughed. Around them, the officials signed documents and made speeches about cooperation and understanding, about the new era of galactic unity, about how different species could work together for the common good. But Jiwan and Taman knew the truth. The big changes started with small choices, with one person deciding to sit beside another, with choosing to see past fear and classification, with offering friendship instead of running away. Back at the academy, new students arrived every year. They came from hundreds of worlds. They brought their instincts and their fears and their assumptions. Some were predators, some were prey. All of them were students trying to find their place. In Velmora's classroom, which she still taught after all these years, the seating was open. Students could sit anywhere they wanted. Some chose to sit with their own species. Some chose to sit with new friends from different worlds. Both choices were respected, but sometimes a predator student would walk into the room, would look around at all the empty seats, would notice one student sitting alone, maybe looking nervous or tired or angry, and that predator would make a choice, would walk over and ask if the seat was taken, and sometimes the answer would be no. The seat would be free, and two students would sit together, both of them predators or both prey or one of each. It did not matter. What mattered was the choice to sit together, the choice to see each other as people first. These moments happened more often now. They were no longer shocking. They were becoming normal, natural, the way things should be. Teacher Velmora watched these interactions with quiet satisfaction. Her feathers no longer stood up in alarm when predators and prey sat together. She had learned, just as her students had learned, that evolution gave them instincts, but intelligence gave them choices. The future belonged to those who chose understanding over fear, to those who chose friendship over instinct, to those who were brave enough to take that empty seat beside someone different. And it all started with one Vraxi cub and one human girl, sitting side by side in a classroom, proving that the galaxy's old rules could be rewritten, one choice at a time, one friendship at a time, one empty seat at a time.